everybody. Welcome to a new week in ISO, as we like to say at the moment. I'm hoping that this live stream is working. I'm actually trying something new here. There's like this live producer that has come up on my computer, in terms of how to set up the live, and it's more interactive and all this sort of stuff. So I'm having a little bit of fun checking it out. Hope you had a good weekend, whatever you were doing, however you were hanging out with your family. This morning I said I was going to come on live to talk about all of the lessons that I learned last week from doing and transferring all of my live events into online events. So we're going to talk about the 10, 11 different things that I realized and I learned. So maybe if you are going to do things for yourself online, you will be able to have some tips and tricks of what to do, what not to do, and what to avoid. So I just want to make sure on my other computer that this is coming through and I'm not just talking to myself. And I'm going to share it in a couple of groups that it does go live. Let's just have a look. Oh, yes, it is working. It looks like the screen is actually a lot more squarer. It's not as widescreen than it normally is. So that's interesting to know. So what I was just saying is something new has come up on Facebook called Live Producer. And I can see the comments are coming up on my left-hand side, and it's got other various different things that you can do. So I'm just going to share this into a couple of my groups before we officially start. It is 9 a.m. on a Monday morning here in Melbourne, and I know people joining from all over the world. So wherever you are, if it's Sunday or Monday, listen up, because this is really key to a lot of people that follow me in terms of the types of businesses that I have and how they can now run them, and what are the key things we need to know about live moving events to the online world, which we know Zoom has just gone absolutely crazy. As of last week, we can see lots of people's Brady Bunch photos. We've renamed those into the Brady Bunch photos. I'm going to do one more share so that it's going everywhere, and then we're going to get started into the content. I thought this new setup would be able to have the other bits and pieces like that you can normally see, like how many people are watching. Good morning, Kayleen. Great to see you. I can't see anywhere, like in terms of how many people are actually on the call, but I can see that on my computer. So maybe, I don't know, you've got to get used to this new way that this live streaming is coming up. It looks so unfamiliar. All right. So last week, we hosted 4 online seminars or workshops, whatever you want to call them, because we obviously could not travel across to the US. So we did our LA group, our Dallas group, our Houston group, and also we offered the Australian people. Good morning, Priscilla. Priscilla's one of our attendees from the California or LA workshop who came on the Tuesday here, Wednesday there. I think it was Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it was. It was Wednesday and Tuesday for America. But on Tuesday, we did Australia, who are the people who the previous week we did some last lot of face-to-face events. And those that missed out, we said, look, we're going to put an online one for you since a lot of you could not come. Like we had 40% face-to-face attendance and 60% could not come. So, as you guys know, 40 times a year, I travel and do my events face-to-face with people. And I love that kind of delivery. It gives me a lot of energy. It makes me excited, to connect with people. And 2 years ago, I did try to run my half-day workshop online, and kind of felt really weird. Like, when you're not in a room with people where you are getting the energy, you're getting them to interact and all this sort of stuff, it all moves very fast. It just kind of, this is not my thing. And so therefore I didn't try again. Okay. And my biggest lesson from this last week, and when we've done 4 and we're about to do 3 more, and then I've got New Zealand the next week. So I've got lots of things lined up that are just happening all online now. My mum's famous saying that I have shared, and many of you who've listened to me, but my mum's always said to me that every beginning is hard. And I guess I should have remembered that when I tried out the first time I did my online stuff, but now I've been kind of pushed back into a corner that I have to do my things online. And it's not that they don't work. It's just that it's an awkward and a different kind of feeling when you're online, and you need to engage and use the systems slightly differently than if you were in a physical room doing your workshops and connecting with people. So these are some of the things that I have learned, and I've refined and got better and better as the week got on. And actually, I can tell you that after just doing 4 of them in such a close period of time, and literally, repeating and repeating and repeating, each time I did it, it got easier. So as my mum says, every beginning is hard. That is true, because I absolutely have felt really, really awkward and weird after the first one, which was the Australian event on Tuesday. And then I jumped on, and the LA group was so interactive and so much fun, and like talked and used the chat box, and I go, this is what it's meant to feel like, and I was really on a high, and then I was able to take that high across to the last 2 events as well. Hey, Lynn, great to see you. Lynn's from one of our LA groups who's doing our May retreat that we're now set up virtually for our US clients. So but literally in May, we're now going to have 2 retreats in 2 weeks, because our May normal face-to-face retreat has been moved to online for the Australians, and so therefore we're servicing those guys that way. Hey, Andrula. All right, so every beginning is hard, right? It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to feel like, oh, this is not for me. I don't want to go there. I'm not that techie. You can run all the stories and excuses in your head that you want, but it's just because you're entering unfamiliar ground. And that's exactly what it felt like for me. I tried to do things that I would normally do, especially the first event I ran last week for the Aussies. I tried to do things that I would do for my face-to-face event, and I got the feedback after I stopped and debriefed with my team. Okay, this doesn't work. This doesn't work online versus offline. And so we ripped apart our presentation. We took out slides we don't think we need to run online, and we worked out, that we need to do things slightly differently. And so that was the first thing that I did, is I ran it once, and then every single workshop we finished, we sat down with our team afterwards, literally minutes after, and said, how do we feel? What worked? What didn't work? And actually, Priscilla, who's watching right now, from her question that she asked during her online seminar, I actually put in 3 extra slides for the next one to explain how this online retreat would run and what would be the run sheet and all that. Good morning, Moana. Great to see you on the call as well. Okay, so second thing, engagement works differently online via the computer screen versus face-to-face. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you ask an audience a question, someone will put their hand up and straight away answer. It happens very fast. But if you get people to engage and obviously give you answers and all that, you've got to give them some time to write some stuff in the chat box, especially if that stuff is a bit longer. Yeah. So either you need to, okay, while you guys are writing in the chat box, this is like kind of the commentary. While you guys are writing in the chat box the answer to this question, you keep saying something else. You cover off something else or whatever it is. Also, what I found worked really, really well is actually if you arrive on the call 10 minutes early, which we did, and actually a lot of our participants did the right thing and did exactly the same. So when we arrived 10 minutes early, we had our team off mute, like we had Stuart off mute, Viv, said hello and all that sort of stuff. And what we did those first 10 minutes is rapport building, like just, hey, how you going? What time is it over there? What time is it over here? Middle of the night, yeah, and just sort of ask people where they're from, and just kind of like real, like basic, kind of stuff that, we human beings just, have a laugh and just be very casual, right? So that worked really, really well. I highly encourage you to have that 10-minute period, because you can sort out through techie challenges. You can get people to find their chat box, to say hello and know how to use it. And also really, really important is that you ask people to be on video. Okay. ask people to be on video. And, you know, the way you say, look, it's really helpful. It's going to be helpful in two ways. It's going to help me give you more energy and more passion and more, you know, kind of like make the call more colorful, if you like. And it does, you know, it's encouraging for me to keep speaking, because it's really hard speaking at a computer screen, just like I'm doing right now, because I'm not getting that feedback unless you guys are writing stuff in the chat box. It encourages me to, you know, continue answering and to give you guys more of me, right? And vice versa. I said, if you're on camera, you are going to stay more engaged. You know, you are going to, you know, not be checking emails or doing other things. And you're here, you've invested your time, let alone if you've invested money to be there. Depends. Every different online thing is different. Sometimes we'll pay for them, sometimes they're free, right? So really build up the why people should be on camera, because it is very encouraging as you're doing the call, the amount of people that you can see. And then from time to time, you can take people off Brady into Brady Bunch mode. And then, so when you screen share on Zoom, and I know a lot of you guys are using Zoom, when you screen share, you end up only being able to see like 5 people across the top, because then you've got your PowerPoint behind. But when you stop screen sharing, so get really comfortable how to stop and start screen sharing, okay? Because if you can do that, then when you're having a group discussion, you put everyone in Brady Bunch mode, and therefore, you know, you can see all the different faces, and people can actually put their hand up, and they can actually nod, or if you said, does anyone want to come off you, tell us about this, and they can do that. Now, let's talk about the situations where people are like there's crickets, like nothing. This is what happened to me in one of the seminars last week. I would go, okay, so who wants to come off mute and tell us, what are you writing about? What's your biggest challenge about writing a book? What will happen if you do nothing about it? And literally, you've got people just sitting there, not saying anything. They're looking at you, and you're looking at them, and like, okay, guys, come on. You want some value? I need to know what you're writing about. And what I did, and because I guess from lots of speaking and talking to a lot of people, I felt comfortable enough. You know what? No one's going to volunteer. I'm going to pick a beautiful smiling face off the screen. So I literally took them off mute and made them come and talk to the group, okay? You know, if it's done with the right intention, because you want to serve and help people, it's okay to do that. And you know what I did it? People just talk. They love talking about their kind of stuff. So, yeah, Priscilla, like crickets. And, you know, your group, Priscilla, was really engaged. Like, so many people wanted to talk. I didn't know who to pick, right? I was really stuck for you know who to choose, but in the you know, subsequent groups, there was a little bit different. The group was still engaged in everything, I could tell, but it was just like no one wanted to volunteer. So I kind of just went, all right, well, I'm picking Tamara over here, let's talk to you. And I'll take her off, and she'd talk. She wouldn't really be you know, taken aback or anything like that. I'll just basically, if you're brave enough, which I was so grateful that 80% of people had their cameras on. I would say 80% of everyone that was there had their, and I was so grateful for that. And therefore I could engage and, you know, smile and say something. Or someone, you know, Priscilla had flowers brought to her in the middle of the seminar, and we all had a big, nice laugh, and she told us why she got them and all that. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, so let me see if where I'm on my list, because I kind of went off my list. And all right, so engagement works different on a computer screen over face-to-face. So be mindful when you're asking the questions, because if you're waiting for people to type up stuff, it's really awkward if you're just kind of going, okay. But you can take a moment and say, okay, guys, while you're typing, and if it's only a one-word answer, you can just take a sip out of your coffee and just see what's going on there, and take a breath and a little rest, okay? Because you might be always talking. All right, with time, you will develop a routine. That's my next point. So with time, you will develop a routine. I can tell you, the first time I did, I was like, what's going on? When is break? I'm running behind in time, all this kind of stuff. But the minute we started doing more and more, by the 4th one last week, we just knew when to turn up, what to say, how to do it, and how to treat it, and what it all felt like. And yeah, there was a complete routine. Literally, you know, come there 10 minutes to do this for this amount of time, just like I would normally do my half-day workshop in a seminar room. I would arrive at 7 to set up by 7:45. Then I would do my live. I even did my little routines where I came on live for a few minutes before my event started to tell my audience, I'm doing this event and and this is what's going to happen. And just a couple of minute little live that I would normally do in a seminar room to show people around and all that sort of stuff. So did my mantra like I normally do. I have a half-day workshop mantra that I say. And good morning, Marlene from PNG. We've got people from all over the world at the moment. So I did my little, mantra, like it's got like 10 little statements that we say, and Stuart did his downstairs and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it worked really well. So develop a routine, and that routine only comes from repetition. Okay, so from repetition, and then what you end up doing is starting to tweak. Okay, so what I've noticed in the early days when I started doing my half-day workshops, I used to change it quite significantly. And obviously with us, after the Australian event on the Tuesday, by the LA event on the I think it was Thursday at our end or Wednesday. I don't know. I've lost track of which day is what. But by that time, I ripped up and actually changed a lot of it, and then had tiny little changes for the subsequent 2 and little tiny ones that are going to come in for this next week. So you will develop a routine, and then you're going to tweak and adjust. And maybe you also will start to think about, what do I say? When do I say it? And all that sort of stuff. All right, next point is, what I do offline does work online. This was a limiting belief for me, that what I do offline, it can only happen, the magic only happens offline, right? And that people would, have the rapport and the trust within me to continue on to get help from me, right? But now I have shifted and I've smashed that belief, because I do believe, like, with the gorgeous people we've welcomed into our community, it does work online. It's just that I have not practiced enough. I had not given it a go. I just discarded and said, this is not for me. Okay. So what's your belief around what is possible online for your business? Okay. Is it that technology scares you? Is it that what you sell and offer, you feel like you have to meet people, which is what I used to feel like? Or, is it something else? And I really am grateful that I was pushed into the back of, my back is up against the wall, working around how to deliver what I do and help people on a grander, even more global scale right now than I have ever before. And we always said there's going to be a blessing, there's going to be a silver lining, there's going to be so many lessons and so much evolution because of this shit hits the fan global moment that we're going through right now. All right, so next point was lighting and background, okay, is important, right? So right now I've got my little ring light just above my computer screen, and this ring light you can change. So I can show you. You can change the way the light hits your face. Like it's nice for people to be able to see you clearly. Not only are they not physically with you in a room, but if you're in a dark and gloomy kind of place, they're not going to stay as engaged. Okay, so if I change this look, you can do soft lights. It's like yellow light. You can do like super bright white light, and I've just today chosen the semi bright white light, so you can see nice, like everything is nice, crisp and clear. So with Stuart downstairs, we like set up this videography light, which is super bright. You can't look into it. Please invest into one of these. I actually went on eBay on the weekend and I bought my girls undies as well. We said we can't go to the shops and the girls needed some new undies, our kids, and we just like went, well, we can buy undies on eBay. So we just bought some. And then I also bought a ring light for Stuart downstairs, because he logs on to the call as a separate user, so he can be, he's got our banners behind him as well. So I've got a media banner at the moment, but he's got our pull-up banners put next to each other, which create a beautiful background anyway. And I've gotten him another one of these ring lights so that we can come through really crisp and clear. Okay, so really important that wherever you set yourself up, what's behind you, what's the lighting. Actually, before I had a ring light, my desk is set up at looking out the windows to my backyard, to my pool. I like to see the water. So whenever the day comes, anyway, I was getting a lot of light in my face. But I thought introducing this ring light, because when I go on the calls at 6 a.m., it's pitch black. It's not going to be good light if you don't have something specific. So invest in something like this. It will make you look more professional. People will be more engaged because they're more likely to stay there and listen to you, when visually and auditorily you're coming through super clear. All right, so lighting and background is important. Having a team is super helpful. I know some of you may be solopreneurs and you may not have like someone who's also on, they're helping you, but every single one of my team members is on our seminars. Okay, so Stuart from downstairs on video, I can take him off mute, and it's really helpful if you have a second person that you can bounce off or you can take off mute, and he takes part of the presentation, which gives me a moment to have a break, but it also lets me implement my routine whereby I can send my thank you email. I can tell people what I've done. I've got my Viv, my publications coordinator, who's also there listening and there to support. But also what's really important for me is while I'm doing content, and if people are coming up with questions, I encourage them, look, ask your questions anytime. I might not stop for it, but my team's going to answer them. So Stuart will answer them. Morning, Adrian. Viv will answer them. My VAs on there as well, observing, taking attendance, right? Or no, Lynn, it must be your internet. If this will be recorded, so you can come back into it later. All right. So basically, everyone's on decks on hand. So my VA is doing attendance. So whoever's attending live, then they're the ones that are going to get a specific email versus the ones that didn't turn up or whatever. They have a different email for after the call. So if you have your whole team there, you can utilize them in so many different ways, from answering questions, from working through technology. Like Lynn's having a problem now. Say one of my people is watching, and I think Viv might be watching. She can tell her, look, it might be your internet, see what's going on, or watch the recording later, something like that. Viv, if you're there, type that in. All right, so that's what I tell them. If you're there, guys, if I'm saying some really key points I want people to get, if I tell people, write this down, and actually online you can say to people, write this down. You can see them in the video that, okay, she said we're going to write this down, so they're writing it down. All right, so people do that. And so when I say write this down, my Viv, I keep saying my Viv, it keeps writing it in the chat box so they know what I have said, so that they can take it down in case they missed it and the moment's already gone. So that's really, really helpful. So whoever you can get, and then the extended team, and that is my gorgeous authors that have already published. I've asked them, would you guys come on the call and say a couple of words about your experience? It would be really helpful for the attendees to hear from people who've been through this experience, and they can ask you questions in the chat box, which they have been doing. And it's been wonderful to have that support and feedback from people who've already walked the same path. And that's what I worked really hard to get everyone organized. Like it is a logistical challenge. Can you be here? There's so many people involved. We've got to all, come to the one place at the one time. But when you do it right and you do stay organized, it can happen like magic. All right. So next thing is, so having a team is super helpful, even if it's, someone who might be in the family. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe he's not, or he or she is not involved in the business, but maybe they can come on board as well and just be there to listen. And maybe they know the answers to the questions that you might get, so they might be able to help out. Think a little bit bigger. All right, so following one is taking people off mute is key. So at the beginning of our call, we kind of take 3 people off mute to ask, what are you writing about? What are your biggest challenges? Because when you take people off mute, they'll tell you a little bit more than they would say type into the chat box. And by being able to hear some examples of who is on the call, then I say you can cater your presentation to then address some of those people and some of the things that they're doing, throughout the presentation, and make it relevant to that room, virtual room, right? So take them off mute. Don't be scared, and remember, if they're a little bit confused about how to do it, or they're not coming off mute, you can just say, okay, if it's not working or something you've got to set up, I'll take you off a bit later, and keep going. So get really comfortable at what buttons are where, and what to do. And of course, in the early days, you might be really awkward and unfamiliar with it all. But now I'm sharing screen and unsharing screen and recording and not recording. There's just so much going on. If you need to write yourself a list of things to remember to do, remember to pause the recording, remember to start the recording, do this, write yourself a list. This is what I used to do when I started doing webinars very, very early into my business. I did a lot of webinars. Like, I hadn't done my half-day workshop online, but I have done a lot of webinars in the past that have worked really, really well. So taking people off mute is key. You will just change the feeling of always talking at people and just stop and give people a little bit of a break. It does give people a little bit of a break from just listening to you, and this is why bringing Stuart to present some of the presentation, taking him off mute, taking Viv sometimes off mute, just like gives it that variety to keep engagement at a high level. Okay, what's my next one? Having people on video is a must. We already addressed that, and keep pushing the point. On my very first slide actually says, please put your video on, and I repeat it. And then I also do a logistical slide that if you get stuck with something, here's a number you can message. So I just do all of the things. Pre-framing is really, really important. So pre-frame, what's going to happen? When is it going to happen? How's the event going to run? And usually you'll see, I was very, very, very surprised to see that everyone that joined the calls, there was no drop-offs till the official, like right to the official end. Like, we have half an hour Q&A at the end of the 3.5 hours. And I was just really surprised, because when I used to run webinars a lot, people would leave and numbers would go up and down and all this sort of stuff, which is like, okay, I would expect, they're busy or whatever, they've heard enough. But it was really cool to see that hardly anyone had actually left the call. If they did, they told us, why they had to go, and they were really sorry. But really, the whole group stayed till the end. All right, so shorter breaks are sufficient. Okay, so shorter breaks are sufficient. We normally say we'll have half an hour break, but I always run on time because I talk too much. So giving people a good morning, everyone. Nice to see you as well. Having people giving them 20-minute break is sufficient enough. I actually eat breakfast in that break because it's like 9 a.m. 8:30 a.m. thereabouts, 8:40 here. And I don't have my breakfast at the beginning, so it's enough time for me to have breakfast, make another coffee, and come back in, which has worked really, really well. So 20 minutes is a sufficient break, and people can just process the information, look at anything you might send them. I send the thank you email before the break so they can look through it, and they kind of have the heads up of what's coming up also in the second half. Okay, so next one is, I already said live testimonials are very helpful. Of course, you can play videos throughout a presentation, but of course, having someone live there in person that can support you and what you do is certainly very, very useful. All right, so that's that one. And having a clear call to action with booking links and automation is essential. So our call to action was to come along and have a author breakthrough session or discuss the program options that we had presented on the call. And Stuart and I set up Calendly booking links. Okay, and what happens with Calendly is when someone books with you, an automatically generated Zoom meeting links, meeting link gets emailed to the person, and they get reminders 1 day before and 30 minutes before, which you set up, of course. Calendly is a free scheduling software platform that can be integrated with Zoom. So it makes it really easy. And we actually set up 2 accounts, one for me and one for Stuart, because we wanted to allow double bookings at the same time. And by doing that, what we have found and having the reminder email set up, we have had so far 100% turn up rate, 100% turn up rate of people coming at their scheduled time via their Zoom link. And literally, I haven't had to touch anything. Like literally, I say, here's the link. Go there, book your time when you want to discuss this, and then I just turn up on the call, and the people have been there and been talking and taking the conversation to the next level. So really essential that what you've got set up and what your call to action is is that it's really easy for people. It's one click away, and they can follow whatever prompts there are, and boom, it all happens. And the next time you're meeting or whatever you're doing. So be very, very clear. Keep tweaking how you're doing things, and just give it a go. There's no better time to give this a go. Yeah, especially if your business is possible. Even if you think it was totally impossible, to do what you do online, there probably is some kind of way. Every business has intellectual property. Every business has expertise that they might be able to help other people. Of course, there is some, like, if you have a clothing store and whatever, but even clothing stores, like if there are physical shops, why can't you just go and take photos of everything that you sell and have set up some stuff online? Everything that I can possibly think of, would have the ability to generate something and create something for online. Okay. So a couple of questions here. I nearly left the meeting. Kayleen, how do you manage privacy to take photos and record session when doing it online? Look, I haven't even thought that far, Kayleen, but I'm guessing that if people have come on video and I've said we're going to take this photo, and if you don't want to be part of it, of course you don't have to be. That to me is that it's okay, obviously, to do it. And what was that link again? Can it be typed in the comment? Which link, Kayleen? Is it the Calendly link? The booking platform. I'm going to type it in. Calendly.com is to set up a booking. I'll just do that for you, to set up your own free online appointment system that it's integrated with Zoom. Okay, so yeah, so that's that, guys. I think I've gone through everything that I learned this week. Maybe next week I will have learned more. I've got 3 more to do this week, and then I'll bring some more lessons from what I'm sort of experiencing, and also maybe how we have been running some of the follow-up calls with the people after the half-day event. Maybe that would be useful to talk through, and what kind of structure and what do you say, and how do you turn up to those kind of calls. So I'm going to go across to my Ultimate 48 Author Mastermind group now. I know some of my authors are watching this, so go and meet me over there. We are going to be talking about creating an online program. That's the question that's been hitting my inbox all week. Nat, when are you going to teach us this? So I'm going to go and teach them that kind of stuff over there and give them some tips and tricks, because while you're at home, gosh, perfect time to create a decent, shorter or longer version of an online program. All right, guys, great to connect with you. See you next Monday, same time, same place, and we'll talk about some other lessons from week 2 from running the business online from home. But don't give up. Go and keep hustling and doing things. It's not time to pause. It's time to pivot and innovate. All right, have an awesome day. Now, if I can only work out where to leave the call on this new platform, here we go, end live. Bye.